Yeah, I'm in the NBA now. I've got drafted, so now my dream has come true. Now all I have to do is go out and play and set some more goals.
Please come as soon as you can. It's no joke. Okay, Washington Hall, apartment number 1103. You're giving a mouth to mouth. You can hear it now. This is Len Bias. You have to get him back to life. There's no way he can die. Seriously, sir. Please come quick.
Imagine a world where the NBA's trajectory was completely shattered. A world where Michael Jordan's dominance was not just challenged, but utterly eclipsed. This isn't a whimsical what if. It's the stark reality that Len Bias's death stole from us.
Jay, you played against Len Bias on many occasions in your career. When you think back to the type of player he was and what he brought to the floor, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Virtuoso. He was Superman in a basketball uniform. He was an extraordinary athlete that, as a two-footed leaper, was without peer. There were very few players that could do what he could do athletically, getting off the floor off 2 feet especially. And he was a magnificent shooter. Not just a good shooter, he was a magnificent shooter. His form was beautiful, and his accuracy was impeccable. He was an extraordinary player. And I believe, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I believe he was headed toward Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame status, that he would have been, had he played in the NBA, a perennial all-star and would have been as good as Jordan.
Len Bias, a name that now echoes as a tragic phantom, a specter of unrealized greatness. To call him merely gifted is an insult. He was a force of nature, a basketball supernova. He wasn't just another player. He was a paradigm shift waiting to happen. His journey began in Landover, Maryland, where he didn't just play basketball, he redefined it. At Northwestern High School, he was a walking highlight reel, a player who made the impossible look routine. This wasn't just raw talent, it was a calculated, ferocious dominance. At the University of Maryland, he transformed from a local sensation into a national phenomenon. Consider his senior year, averaging 23.2 points and 7 rebounds against ACC competition, a conference known for its defensive intensity. Explosive drives, dunks that defied gravity, a jump shot that was pure artistry. He didn't just beat defenders, he humiliated them. His defensive presence was suffocating, his intensity unmatched. He was a complete player, a generational talent. Comparisons to Michael Jordan? That's where the narrative gets twisted. Let's be blunt. Bias wasn't just comparable, he was superior. Scouts weren't just impressed, they were awestruck. He's the best player I've ever seen, some said. And they weren't just talking about college. Consider this, Bias's vertical leap was reportedly over 40 inches, coupled with a wingspan that allowed him to dominate defensively. Was he better than Jordan? That's not even the right question. The question should be, how much better? Bias had the raw power, the explosive athleticism, and the innate basketball IQ that Jordan could only dream of. His college performances weren't just legendary, they were a glimpse of a future where Jordan was relegated to second best. Many believed, and rightly so, that he possessed the tools to not only rival Jordan, but to dismantle his legacy. Remember, Jordan's early career was marked by playoff struggles. Bias was touted as a player who could immediately transform a championship-caliber team. The 1986 NBA Draft. The Boston Seltics, already a dynasty, selected Len Bias. The perfect storm wasn't just brewing, it had arrived. The Celtics dynasty, already etched in history, was about to become immortal. The future was blindingly bright, and anyone who says otherwise is blinded by nostalgia. The city of Boston, a city that knows basketball, was electrified. They weren't just excited, they were witnessing the dawn of a new era. He was the chosen one, the player who would not just continue the Celtics' legacy, but transcend it. The Celtics, with Bird, McHale, and Parrish, were already a dominant force. Adding Bias was seen as guaranteeing another decade of dominance. Then, the unthinkable. Just 2 days later, the world stopped.
Jim. Well, this week, the grand jury will be looking, of course, at all the events which led up to the death of Len Bias. Pat Collins has put together the whole story.
The Boston Celtics select Len Bias.
The clippings and listen to the sportscasters. Len Bias's life appeared to be a succession of dreams come true. From the playgrounds of Prince George's County to All-Metropolitan at Northwestern High School, to All-American at the University of Maryland, to first-round draft pick of the world champion Boston Seltics. He appeared to be a clean-cut, born-again Christian, the kind of athlete they'd invite to the White House. But the road to fame was not the only path Bias chose to travel. We now retrace the last hours of Len Bias's life, focusing on some of the figures who may prove important in the investigation of his death.
Len Bias was dead. Cocaine overdose. The nation was not just saddened, it was robbed. Basketball was not just in mourning, it was left with a gaping, unfillable void.
There's a picture of him and Michael Jordan at Five-Star Basketball Camp. And you see how skinny Michael is and how tall Lenny is. Like, because Michael, yeah. And Lenny is 6'9" and played like Michael. And I know it sounds crazy, but even everybody would tell you played like Michael, meaning every time he got the ball, you knew he was going to score. Mm-hmm. And he was the beast. He was literally going to save the Celtics.
The future, a future of unprecedented greatness, was extinguished in a single tragic moment. A promising life, a life destined for greatness, was cut short by a moment of foolishness. The shockwaves were not just seismic, they were apocalyptic. How could a young man, a god among men, fall so suddenly? The promise, the potential, gone. A career, a legacy, evaporated, leaving behind only the bitter taste of what if. The what ifs began immediately, and they will haunt basketball fans forever. The loss of Len Bias wasn't just a blow to the NBA, it was a cultural catastrophe. It sparked a national conversation about drug use, but it also exposed the fragility of greatness. The emotional interviews weren't just tearful, they were filled with a raw, visceral anger. His death didn't just leave a void, it left a scar that refuses to heal. And let's be honest, the Celtics never truly recovered. They became a shadow of their former selves, a testament to the devastating impact of Bias's absence. The Celtics never won another championship in the Bird era after Bias's death. If Len Bias had lived, would he have been the GOAT? Would he have challenged Michael Jordan's reign? Would he have led the Celtics to even more championships? That's a question we will never really get the answer to. What do you think? Dare to disagree. Leave your thoughts in the comments below and prepare to be challenged.
As a Maryland alum and a guy who grew up loving the Terrapins, what you did, say Len Bias, what do you think?
Everybody's favorite player. Like, he was that guy, right? I mean, he truly was, he was larger than life, but he was that guy. Whatever you've heard about him on the floor. And I'm so thankful that Jay told the story he did, just to hear him talk about how he would have rivaled Michael. And it's sacrilege to say anyone could have approached that. But I think it's reasonable given where he would have gone to Boston, to wonder what might have been, or at least delaying the onset of Jordan, or the two of those guys dueling as they did in college.